Hello out there. Welcome to the Feminist Voices, a global conversation podcast series by Women Major Group during the High Level Political Forum 2023. The High Level Political Forum has gathered private businesses, government to discuss now that the SDGs is halfway. We just have 7 years to be able to achieve Agenda 2030. How feasible it is, how realistic it is, even with what COVID have been able to erode from the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goal. The Women Major Group came up with several messages as advocacy messages to engage government at all levels at the high level political forum. And one of such messages is secure right to clean water, sanitation, energy, and agriculture. We're looking at the nexus. And the topic for us to discuss in this podcast series is secure right to clean water, sanitation, energy, and agriculture nexus. And to discuss this today with me, Dr. Rachael Misan-Ruppee, is Wanun Permpibul. Wanun Permpibul is the Executive Director of Climate Watch Thailand. Wanun, you are welcome to the podcast series.
Thank you very much, and hello, DC.
Okay, so we are looking at a lot of issues. We are engaging government at all levels, not just at the international level, at the national, subnational, and local level, as up to the community levels, because everybody needs to be engaged for us to be able to achieve the SDGs. That is why we're talking about localization. And some of the challenges is the issues of localization have not properly been addressed. And when we are talking about localization, then we are talking about women, we are talking about girls, we are talking about gender diverse people everywhere, wherever they may be. But today we are actually looking at how do we secure the right to clean water? How do we secure the right to sanitation? How do we secure the right to energy? And how do we secure the right to agriculture? Because when you look at water, sanitation, energy, and agriculture, you are indirectly talking about women. They are unpaid care job and unpaid care services. Because women get water, takes them difficulty, sanitation, energy, agriculture, and all this stuff. Then, when we talk about all this, we want to find out how will private sector and government policies and programs support women-led organizations to ensure food sovereignty?
Okay, that's really a great question. I think it's women in my country, in Thailand. We've been working both in Thailand and also in the Mekong countries. That means working with the local groups and also farmers and fisher folks in those Mekong countries as well. So we have seen that women are working in the farm. So they are the main primary rice producer, and those are the food. Yeah? They are also growing some other crops as well. And the way they are growing those using their own traditional practices, that is already sustainable. So when you're talking about sustainable development, they know about it already because they are practicing it, even though they don't know the word sustainable development. Yeah? But it is sustainability for them. So when there are corporations who have been facilitated by the policies of the government that has broken down and also removed their traditional practices of growing rice and ensuring the food on the farm. So now we are talking in terms of how we're making sure that their right to food sovereignty is secured. So what the government and private sector needs to do is also to stop all the large development projects, because those are grabbing of the rights of their land. And their land means the food, because they are growing rice on the land. So, and then also to support the women on the ground who are working in the field for that rice and also the crops, to provide not the loan, but the grant, and also some technologies that would be responding to help them surviving during the time of the climate impacts. Because when you have the climate impacts, then food would also be lost, right? And then you need to provide the finance and also the support to the local women. So that means that is also ensuring that they have food, and then also they still have the rights on the land where it will be producing the food. So what I'm saying is ensuring that there's no harm, no large development projects that would be threatening the rights on the land, and also to provide the finance in the form of grants, and also to provide the technology that has been building up on what they have been practicing as a traditional knowledge. And I think that there are also some others that could also be looked at as well. During the time of climate impacts, women have been badly impacted, especially on their health and their access to water, their access to health as well. And also by the crops has been lost, women also lost the income. And that means women have also getting together and with their own initiatives to provide, to have seed banks. And that is the initiative from the women-led organizations and women in the communities. The seed banks is something that the government needs to fully support. The government in some countries is having the seed bank as the sense that they put the seeds in the bank and keep it as the bank for doing the laboratory and doing some hybrid issues. But women in the community, the way they are having seed banks and the way they are conserving the seeds is by exchanging the seeds to other communities. That's how you are conserving the seeds. Once they are growing in more places, that's why that's how you are conserving it. Yeah. So the support on this needs to be there. And that is for sure that is also strengthen the food sovereignty. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Wanam. Okay, that's great. You mentioned the fact that there's land grabbing and there's lack of access to grants and access to programs, and the women are actually conversant with nature-based solution of agroecological practices. Okay, thank you very much for that. That once that is harnessed through the policies and programs and private sector coming together, then we are guaranteed of food sovereignty. Okay. Now, how can we ensure that the right to clean water, sanitation, energy, and agriculture are part of the broader development agenda? Look, talking about the grant you mentioned, the land grabbing, because it needs to come into the development agenda for it to be addressed so that women can continue to enjoy what they know how to do and enjoy it well.
A lot of knowledge has been already there with the women within the communities. They know well where to go and get the water because they are working in the farm. Let me give some example. Women in our communities in Thailand, they are practicing this because the impacts of climate change there, and there has been a long period of drought and a very, very abnormally long period of drought. And what women are doing is putting the water, injecting the water into the land, and then they have the traditional knowledge that the water that they inject, they would know their ways in under the ground, and then the water would find their way to other water. So then the water would be linked and connected to other water. So then that's how they get the water. So that is the way that we really need to recognize. So that means in order to bring the rights to water into the broader agenda of the sustainable development, we need to recognize and respect the traditional knowledge and traditional practice that has been already there on the ground and support it. And also don't forget that those who are planning, they are planning from the city in the central unit. They have maybe some of the information that they might have missed, and they don't know the context of those on the ground. So you really, really need to ensure the full and inclusive and meaningful participation and engagement of women on the ground who are really working on the field, because they know the needs, they know the problems, and they are the one who could also provide a very good input on how to solve the water issue, the health issue, the energy issue, and that needs to be ensured in terms of their participation and their engagement. And that's how we think that could also bring the issue into the agenda. And also a lot of cases has been shown that initiatives on the ground is really good. So that means you really need to take those and respect and recognize those. And I think I'm not undermining the input of the new technology, but technology will only need when it's also built upon what is already there, and to help ensure that the long-term adaptation or adjustment would be there using the technology. But it's not the newly imposed technology coming out of nowhere and not related to the local women's context.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Wow, great strategy, approach, and technique to actually get this right to clean water, sanitation, energy, and agriculture to be part of the broader development agenda. Okay, how can we measure progress in ensuring these rights?
I
How can
think
we
we
measure the progress?
So that means we can also look at how things on the ground have been improved, and also how women has been having their voices reflected in the policy measures, and how women's voice have been amplified, how many cases, for example, or the innovations and initiatives of the women have been multiplied, have been supported to the larger groups of different communities. So that's the thing that we think that the amplification and multiplication of the innovations from one village to one village and one community, one province to another, that could be the way that we know that it has been also brought up into the local and also the national ones. And then altogether, I think we could also demand for like the very full support to have it more expanding and more multiplication of those cases. So that would be something that we see as one of the initial success of those success in order to ensure that there are rights to water, there are rights to food, for example. I hope that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Engaging, you may ask me if you ask me, I will say very engaging, and you are in touch with the women at the grassroots level on the issues of climate-related issues, because you can't talk about right to water without talking about the impact on climate. Talking about sanitation, we can't talk about energy and agriculture and not talk about the impact vis-a-vis climate and everybody impact and what have you. Okay, so how can you tell more about your work and Climate Watch Thailand? I want to find out what
Yeah.
have you been doing? Because you talk about amplifying the voice and multiplying the voice. Okay, amplify it for us and multiply it. Let's hear what you're doing in Thailand
Okay,
with Climate Watch.
so as its name, we are working on the climate issues.
Yes.
So we are trying to empower voices on the ground. It's not just only empower, but working together with them, because by working together with them, we learn about those issues. And we are planning together how to bring those issues to be vocal at the local authority level and also at the national level and the regional level. And also we are trying to bring in the different cases, different realities, let's put it that way. What are the problems? What are the needs? What are the impacts of even the solutions to climate change? For example, if you're talking about nature-based solutions, it seems to be a good word. Yeah, and it seems to be claimed that it's helping with the climate, but in reality, it's not, because women on the ground have seen the impacts of those, not only the impacts of climate change, but the impacts of the climate measures, which are the wrong and the false solutions. So we are bringing those different realities on the ground, and also those are the input to our policy asked for the national government. So we are engaging and working with different groups, women's group, farmers group, fisher folks, and together we do the policy brief together and do advocacy. And where there is the need, and sometimes you need to do mobilization, so we gather together in terms of doing the mobilization to demand for the climate justice and the access and the gender justice.
Wow, wow, that's great, great, great. Great. You're doing great in Thailand with Climate Watch. Well, time is never our friend, but this is where we want to say, can you tell us your final word?
I think we really we need to make people on the ground, especially women, are doing things on the ground. They know about sustainability. They know about how to conserve the water. They know how to work and to conserve the forest. Let's say community forest, because those are their lives, their supermarket, yeah, their food sources. They are not the one destroying those. So when you are talking about sustainable development, they know it by heart. So let's not trying to impose some new terms, new terminology onto them, but do learn from them, because those sustainable development concepts and also even goals are already there. So I am saying that it needs to be a bottom-up process, bringing what has already been done by them. And then let's have a look at how those have already been sustainable. So, and then we really need to recognize the way those on the ground and women's group are doing. That is already sustainable development. So, and then when the policy is coming with the large project under the name of development, that is the thing that you are breaking their sustainability. So respect and recognizing the work on the ground and highlighting and amplifying those on the ground. And that is the true sustainable development.
Oh, wow. Great, Wanun. Great. We have been talking with Wanun Permpibul. She's the Executive Director of Climate Watch Thailand, and we have been discussing how to secure right to clean water, sanitation, energy, and agriculture nexus. Well, if you just join us, well, you don't bother. Please follow us on follow the Women Major Group on all the social media platforms at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Women Major at Women Major Group, and on Facebook you'll find this video. Please follow it. If there are questions, if there are comments, we will reach out to us, drop your comments, ask your questions. We can even get the guests to respond to you, so that we can. This is a learning point for all of us, and a learning point so that we share the lessons and experiences from one context to another context. Who knows? I have learned a lot that I will use to engage my women on some of these issues of sustainability, because I work with women. I lead about 5,000 women farmers. So these will also some of the issues I have learned. So you can also learn. So please do follow us on all the social media platforms or the Women Major Group at Women Major Group, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Okay. Well, I had to let you go anyway, but well, I would have want to keep you, but I cannot. Thank you for your time, for coming on this program. We, on behalf of Women Major Group, we say a very big thank you to you. We hope you respond to us when we call you again.
Thank you
Okay.
very much. Thank you so much for
Thank
the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so on behalf of every member of Women Major Group that brought this podcast, I remain Dr. Rachael Misan-Ruppee saying, see you again tomorrow for a fresh episode of the Feminist Voices, a Global Conversation podcast series. Bye-bye.